you want to show who they are, meaning what's the meat and potatoes of these characters? Like when they go through all their all the drama and all the things, who are they at their core? And like May started out as this quiet, little girl in the beginning of the book. By the end of the book, and she had she had like no confidence in herself, just a broken teenager, right? By the end of the book, we have a May who's confident, who's who feels loved, who feels secure, who is now happy in in her life and in where she is, and she's ready to take on the adventure. So that's saying like you could still throughout the story with the character, you got to show their growth process, whether they evolve or de-evolve. For example, May's the enemy of the book, May's stepfather. He's very confident and he's very arrogant and he's very just a complete jerk basically, but very happy in his skin, so to say. And by the end of the book, he's destroyed. He's taken down by his own actions. And so you need to show that, and it kind of goes without saying in anything, but just make sure that really comes across. Just think about that. You want your character to change. You don't want them to be the same person in the beginning that they were in the end, unless I say that, but then again, it doesn't really it doesn't give the reader something satisfying. Like that, what did they learn through this experience? Like, okay, yeah, we're the same person, but what did they learn? And there's no way that they're gonna start off and have the same mentality in the beginning that they do at the end, because that means they didn't learn anything. And if they did, if that's your message, then that's your message that this person went through all this stuff and they didn't learn anything. That's cool too, but that also has to be pointed out to the reader. So you're as a writer, you're planting seeds, um, and you're giving people an opportunity. Like we're mistakenly brought up to think that we gotta go out there and make our own mistakes. And the truth is, this is why there's storytelling. You're supposed to learn from the mistakes of others. You're supposed to learn from the victories of others on how to maneuver within your life. That's why there's all these stories and all these different books. This is why we're storytellers. We're supposed to show an example of, okay, this person decided that they're going to rob, steal, and murder. This is where they ended up. Um, this person decided that they're going to do good things despite what the world has put at them, throws at them, and this is how their life went, and this is how they overcame. We're supposed to be learning from these examples. This is why we are driven to share our stories with each other, and this is why we are driven to tell our story. This is why we have this desire that we must tell our story, because there's somebody else who needs to hear that story to prevent them from going through what you went through, or and just enlightening them on how they can do things better. So my for me like one for me is, I love King Solomon. I think he's awesome, but he's a disappointment to me at the same time, because the thing that he disappointed me on is he was doing great, but who needs 700 wives? And out of these 700 wives, he married women that God did not want him to bring into his circle, that God did not feel were fit to be in his circle because of what they had in their life and what they honored, and what they worshiped. But King Solomon was so driven by wanting all these different women, it was his downfall. Everything else was perfect. He was beyond wealthy. Wealthy is not even he was something way above wealthy. Like wealthy is like broke compared to King Solomon. So, but it's a life lesson for us, like if that's what you're into, it's a life lesson for us. Like, look at how he lived his life, look at what his faults were, look at what brought him down, and then just pay attention to that and pay attention to that pattern because you're going to see it show up again because somebody else is going to do it again. It's just a given, but it's up to us to take that lesson and make the difference for us. So as storytelling, this is why to me fiction and nonfiction are just as important. Fiction, yes, we're telling a fake story, but the scenarios aren't fake. The situations really aren't fake. They may be elaborated. I use a lot of supernatural elements, but they're not fake. So always pay attention to the story. You are a storyteller. I'm not great at verbally telling a story. Well, I can't say that. I might be good at it, but sometimes I tend to jump around. But I tend to do that with my writing too. So, but at the end of the day, we are storytellers. There's some people who are naturally more gifted to, or I should say, they tend to be more verbal storytellers, and there are other people who tend to be more um, written, whatever, storytellers like me. I more favor writing it down as opposed to telling it. But either way, I don't mind. I don't mind doing both, you know? So, the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We're both storytellers, and stories are so very important. So, don't ever think your story isn't important. Don't ever think that nobody's going to read your story, and don't ever think your story that is not worth it being published just because a publisher doesn't pick it up. This is why we have self-publishing. And the truth about self-publishing is sometimes a lot of these companies, the traditional publishing companies, will they you gotta have to understand they're trying to make money. So if the market isn't saying that this is what people want to read, they're not going to publish it. They're not interested in publishing it. The beautiful thing about self-publishing is you can present something that people didn't know they wanted to read. And you're going to have to get really good at marketing, but once you get that message out there, then you'll be surprised how many publishers will be banging down your door. So it's just it's not that they're trying to be hateful. It's that they have to make money and they can't wait for they can't they're not in the business of making people aware. That's not their thing. They're in the business of giving the market what it's asking for. So whereas self-publishing is almost kind of like the opposite, you know? So happy writing. I hope you guys enjoyed this talk and we will be getting into the next one. See you soon.